Here we are shown enslaved people taken from their homeland, forced to work under brutal conditions. But before we can talk about this, we have to take it back, way back to the beginning of our journey many months ago. It all began with Prince Henry the Navigator, who sponsored many expeditions along the African coast, and the conquistadors who followed. These European interactions allowed for their technology to be introduced to the African natives. The Africans were willing to go to the extreme length of selling off prisoners and rival clan members for goods such as gunpowder and cannons, which gave these particular African city-states significant power. One example of such was the Kingdom of Congo. Dahomey was notoriously known for pillaging villages and selling off their inhabitants. However, our story revolves around the treacherous journey of a group of slaves sold off by their own people to work under the conquistadors at the New World, and it starts in a barracoon or slave castle in West Africa.
Right, well, we need these Africans because the natives are very difficult to take control of. They die very easily and they're escaping too easily, so we need new people, and who better than the Africans? Signed, Senor Garcia of the Sugar Plantation. All right, let's go, everyone. We got orders to ship you off to the New World.
Where are we going? What is this man doing? Do you think we'll ever cut back?
I don't know.
Hey, shut up!
I heard New World.
Shut up,
so
get
I
on
think
the
we're coming
boat.
back.
Little did these now enslaved people know they were about to embark on a 2 to 3 month long voyage to the Americas. This voyage was a crucial point in the triangular trade system that took laborers from Africa to the Americas, raw goods from the Americas to Europe, and refined goods from Europe to Africa. They were about to begin the Middle Passage. But before we continue, there is another group of enslaved people who will have a different fate. These are slaves sold to a buyer in India along the Indian Ocean slave trade.
Why are we going to Madagascar?
They're selling us to a buyer in some place called India.
Oh my god, I hope India has a better fortune than this.
We will now skip ahead to their arrival in India.
Seems we have some strong potential here. I'll send you off to the seaports where your labor is most needed. And get out of here.
These Africans will be able to live in towns or cities, which will give them the opportunity to establish communities. These communities will eventually leave a lasting impact on the culture of this Indian subcontinent. African musics, art styles, languages, and customs will diffuse into the Indian way of life, and a more tolerable life is achievable for those enslaved. However, a tolerable life is not even considerable for the slaves being shipped to the Americas. Now we continue their journey on the Middle Passage.
The journey from Africa to the Americas is known for the brutal conditions on board the ships that would kill 25% of all enslaved people involved with the Middle Passage. The slaves were loaded onto ships and crammed together with hundreds of others in a confined hold. Sometimes the slave traders would stack slaves on top of each other in an attempt to exceed the maximum capacity of slaves, as they knew that many would die on the journey anyways. The holes in these ships were known to the house rats and other rodents, which aided in the spread of disease. The tightly packed conditions made it very easy for diseases to spread from one person to another inside the ship. If one person died from a disease, the body would be left there until disposed of, which may take a while. And here we return to the group that we are following.
I heard something about a rebellion where a foreign ship was taken over by people like us. They were free after that. Do you think that can happen to us?
Wait, where did you hear of this?
I overheard someone talking about a ship not far off the African coast that was taken over from the foreigners.
Who knows? I mean, maybe it will happen to us. Man, I can't stand the smell of this boat. It's so cramped. Mr. Conquistador, I don't feel so good.
Despite enduring the harsh journey, their struggle was not over just yet. The year is 1619, and 150 of the original 200 enslaved Africans have just arrived to the Caribbean. Exiting the ship, the slaves are quickly put to auction and into a practice of life service. In some situations, slaves were able to become indentured servants to eventually buy themselves freedom, but indentured servitude was considered unlikely.
Oh, hey, look, the plantation owner is leaving. I'm gonna go take a break. You should too.
Oh man, I wanted this break for so long. All we do here is work in the fields with these back-breaking work for such long hours.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get placed into the house as servants rather than laborers.
Oh man, that would be the dream. Wait, one of the plantation owners is coming back. Let's get back to work.
Hey, y'all better be working. No breaks allowed. Let's go.
We have ventured on a journey throughout a brutally harsh experience by these enslaved Africans. They have endured countless hardships and will continue to face more challenges as well as oppression as their positions in the social structures begin to solidify. Overall, the slave trade has permanently affected the Americas, part of Asia, and Europe as well. The social structures would forever be changed by the introduction of the Africans as well as the demographic changes. There was now the establishment of the slave class as well as mixed classes, which would be lower than pure-blood Europeans. This lower status would eventually lead to major conflicts, which is all attributed to the introduction of Africans. Some of these conflicts even resulted in revolts and revolutions against the political systems. However, one of the biggest effects was the economic one. The introduction of enslaved Africans allowed for cheap or even free labor, which revolutionized how Europeans were able to increase their profits without expending their own populations. In the end, the Africans were also able to spread their culture and diffuse into this new American society. This diffusion will continue for hundreds of years as their beliefs transform their societies. This now brings us to the end of our long and enduring story, where we have been shown the hardships endured by the enslaved African people.
This is so bad.
Tee hee.